Welcome. This is Vivek Singhal from Cellstrat AI Lab. Let's start our webinar on emerging architectures for LLM applications. Let me share my screen here. Yes, so I've shared my screen. I hope you can see that. Uh, Today's topic is this emerging architectures for LLM apps, and this is a blog basically, which I found on the website of the very famous venture capital firm called Andreessen Horowitz, uh, run by Mark Andreessen of Netscape fame and Mr. Horowitz, I guess. And so I saw this blog and I asked for a volunteers from the AI Lab community who can present a webinar. And one a researcher from our group volunteered to present it, but today he has taken ill, so I am presenting it on his behalf. So so let's discuss this now. Large language models are the new way of doing text processing and pretty much communication. So I was thinking why LLMs have become so hot or important. So it's about redefining the communication paradigm, right? So human beings are about communication, right? So why it is not just about text. It's about rethinking communication applications, and which is almost every application, right? So every application is trying to create something useful for you in your life, whether it's a wallet or a movie booking service, or research app, or news website, right? So it's all about communicating information between the users and technology, and providing some useful service information, right? Or some inputs. So this whole LLM paradigm has modeled the internet text at large and understood the pattern of human language essentially. And so now that creates magic, because now it can redefine how you create communication between human beings and systems or applications. So that's why it is so hot, and it just don't seem to end. You would think the Gen AI craze has been going on for a few months, maybe, or almost a year now with ChatGPT breakout, but the excitement doesn't seem to end. It just goes on and on. So I was thinking, why is it so? And it's basically about redefining everything about language, about speech, about communication. And that is the soul of human existence, right? Communication. So, so that's why it doesn't end. And the amount of innovation which is possible on language processing or text is simply beyond mind boggling, right? So when I read about it, I'm learning about it, it just goes on and on, right? So when I'm looking at chain of thought, tree of thought algorithm, now there are so many off thought kind of algorithms, right? So the knowledge base which we need to learn doesn't end. It is absolutely becoming like infinite knowledge base. So our series of webinars which we keep presenting on weekends kind of help, I guess. That's why so many of you keep joining our webinars and keep joining our AI Lab community. But really, this really needs a group effort because it's huge. Yes, millions of algos just in LLM or text processing or NLP, and we haven't even touched the an equivalent paradigm in large image model for that matter, or large audio or video model. This is, we are still on text and language, so that itself is taking over the word. Whereas the Mark Andreessen says software is eating the word, and now AI is eating software, right? So that's how we can put it. So it was software is eating the word, now AI is eating software. So everything which is tech, is going to be an AI driven, and pretty much every company, every corporation on the planet is has to deal with tech, right? Whether it's a website, an app, right, messaging, or data, right? So everything involves tech. Even even a sort of a chai wala, or maybe just a a vendor on the road selling fruits and vegetables has to deal with tech through the mobile phone and the payment infrastructure with the QR code. So because everybody has to deal with tech, tech drives our lives. Now AI is eating software or tech, right? So everything is going to become AI driven. And in AI, this Gen AI is especially very interesting because this allows you to create incredible generative paradigms. So let's understand this architecture which Andreessen Horowitz, is basically just saying. I mean, this is the thing all of us work on. If you're in Gen AI space, we already do this. It's not rocket science really, but it's just putting together all the components in one place. So initially, I was thinking that this is something new from the brain power of Andreessen Horowitz venture capital firm, and they have created this architecture diagram. But then when I reviewed it, it is basically what we have been doing in LLMs and GNAI. They have just put together a very nice summary of the whole thing, if you will. So it's a nice diagram. You can see that we have data. Everything starts with data. So there's a data pipeline, whether it's Databricks, Airflow, or whichever else, and then data engineering pipelines. Then you have to then it deals with an embedding model, and from OpenAI Cohere, Hugging Face, right? And then those embeddings get stored as in a vector database. So what is an embedding? And many of you probably know that already. Embedding is a, 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 a dimensional transformation of text to represent it in numerical space, right? So it basically, because software and tech only understands numbers, so embedding is a numerical representation of any kind of data, whether it's text, audio, video, or what have you, right? So so this and all of that numerical representation is called as embedding in the NLP verbiage. And we used to have BERT embedding, now we have LLM embeddings, and these are stored in these as numerical mathematical vectors into what we call as vector database called Pinecone, Viviate, Chroma. So there are multiple vector database platforms or libraries now, right? Pinecone being very popular, but it's an API call. So we choose to use Viviate in our ImagineView product, or Imagine GPT product, which is cheaper than Pinecone and it's locally resident. And then there's an orchestration which is driving the whole show here, as you can see. So there's an orchestration framework, whether it's Python or do it yourself, LangChain, Llama Index is very popular. And in this blog, I discovered even Chat GPT can be used for orchestration. It's not just a chat bot, it can be used for, it has an API. So there's a Chat GPT API, which can help you orchestrate the whole LLM workflow. Right. So any questions, feel free to ask or just speak up. Let's make it a discussion. I kind of learned all of this recently in trying to present this webinar. I mean, I've been working on this, but more as a sort of a CEO, not as very technical on this. So I was also reading and learning about this whole thing. So if you would like to contribute or have any questions, feel free to speak.
So Vivek, the name which you mentioned instead of Pinecone, which one you mentioned?
We are using VV8 now. VV8 in our product.
VV. Can you
Yeah,
spell
yes.
it, please?
VV8. So this is again a very popular, embedding architecture. So VV8, yes. So this is also very popular. Pinecone has gained maximum, mind share, but it's a API, so and it's very expensive. So we started with Pinecone in our AWS, platform, but we quickly moved on to. So this is our upcoming Gen AI platform. It used to be called Imagine GPT. Now we call it ImagineView, right? So we have recently shifted our embedding from Pinecone API to VV8. I think VV8 is resident in our AWS. We don't have to call any API for that. So it is cheaper in that sense. And also the embeddings remain local, if I am not wrong. In Pinecone, it went to the Pinecone API and on Pinecone servers, I think. So any questions?
Vivek, what is the use of orchestration here actually? Why we are orchestrating?
See, orchestration is the central command control center, right? So this is where you create the is sort of the central dashboard, if you will, and this is the central piece of the software where everything, all of these other things get coupled or orchestrated, right? So that's what it basically means. Nothing major about it. It's just the central piece where you code the whole thing. So LangChain and Llama Index provide very powerful, ready-made sort of a central, coding component, if you will. But you can do it in Python or do it yourself as well. But a lot of us startups and AI product developers are using LangChain, or Llama Index is becoming very popular now. In ImagineView, we are using LangChain. And in this blog, I got more clarity that even ChatGPT API can be used as central orchestration layer, not just LangChain and Llama Index. So now continuing with this diagram. So so the advantage of LLMs is that you can you can do what we call as prompt engineering, right? And so you prompt a few examples or no examples. So either few shot prompting or zero shot prompting, and it is able to give you very accurate and interesting answers to your random queries. So this is what we mean by few shot or zero shot prompting. Either we give no examples of what we want to get, or we give few examples of what we want to get. Right. So this is similar to few shot and zero shot machine learning, which we used to do with traditional AI neural network architectures. So so you basically prompt it, and then it will obviously pull the information from the vector DB for the documents which you have uploaded, your contextual data. So this contextual data is your, let's say, your company's data. You have embedded it and stored it in these vector databases, and then a user comes in and you train the model with few short or zero shot prompting, and so it learns what you want to do, and then you can do a query and answer paradigm, right? So on the back end, it is basically connecting to the LLM app. So the OpenAI API for GPT is the most popular one as best of breed LLM model, but even a Llama, which is open source from Meta, is gaining ground as a private LLM, and there are others like Falcon, Mistral 7B, and all that, right? So there are many LLMs which have come up, and the leaderboard keeps changing. Some of them are API only, such as Google Bard and OpenAI API, and some are open source like Falcon, where you can download the LLM model locally and set it up locally on your cloud. Falcon, Llama, Mistral also, I think you can do locally. So the leaderboard keeps changing, but still, GPT core API remains state of the art by all measures. But I think others open source like Claude 2 from Anthropic company, or Llama 2, they are catching up quickly. And now Google has, as of yesterday, Google was going to launch its new, uh, you know, uh, Gemini model, which was supposed to make them catch up with OpenAI and its GPT-4 sophistication. But as of yesterday, Google did, postponed. Sundar Pichai was supposed to do road shows in various US cities. But yesterday there was some news that there are some bugs in the Gemini model by Google, because Google is now playing catch up, right? So even though they had the Palm LLM or the Bard chatbot, but it didn't catch up to the sophistication of ChatGPT or GPT-4 or even GPT 3.5. So they were doing a lot of intense. They invested a lot and brought a lot of their DeepMind and other AI teams to try to launch Gemini, the answer to OpenAI prowess. But as of yesterday, that launch has been postponed by, and Sundar Pichai was supposed to do three major road shows yesterday in US, but he postponed it. So the report says there are some bugs. So OpenAI remains the leader, and Microsoft with the Sam Altman drama recently leaving then in a half and then fired actually by the board. But now he's back because I think Microsoft knew that OpenAI is in danger. So they brought him back as the CEO of OpenAI. So that was a pretty bad move to fire him in the first place. But anyway, he's back. So far, so good for OpenAI and Microsoft, right? So then here you see this LLM cache, Redis, SQLite, and GPT cache. So these are caching techniques. I'm personally not exposed to them. We don't use these, at least in our product. Then I have used weights and biases. I've seen ML flow presentations from our community. So these are logging or LLM operations layers. Weights and biases very popular for introspecting, your AI functioning and the internals of the algorithmic processing, and very powerful library weights and biases. Then for validation, there is guardrails. So GPT and Chat GPT have built-in guardrails, but I believe you can have external guardrails API intercept your LLM workflow as well. Now, if you use Llama, I think directly, or Falcon directly, there is no guardrail built in, right? Even with Llama 2 or Falcon, I don't know what Mistral, there is no inbuilt guardrail, so it will give you abusive answers if you like it to give that, or give questionable, discussions. And then the whole solution can be hosted for serving on Netlify, Vercel, Python, Streamlit, right? So there are many hosting systems. There is also Replicate, which is developing a developer tools layer for all this. Hugging Face, of course, we all use. It is the API, rendering and orchestration platform. So any questions on this diagram before we continue further? Maybe all of you are way deep into Gen AI, and this is all trivial to you, right? Possibly. Even we are doing also many of these components in our ImagineView product platform. But this was a nice sort of an integrated view of the whole orchestration of LLM apps. But when I went through it, I realized Andreessen Horowitz are talking about a sort of a comprehensive stack, and they are not proposing any new, architecture out there. They talk to some of the best, Gen AI experts around the world, and they put together this blog and this stack to just one place. Any
This
questions?
AWS Bedrock, the new evolvement of AWS Bedrock
Yeah.
is also a good add-on. You can even host custom models, with Bedrock with a lesser cost. That's
This
another.
Bedrock, they just announced this Q. What is this Amazon Q?
I'm not aware, but Bedrock, Bedrock I
This
have used.
Q is a Amazon ka chat this thing. So you can chat with it. You can ask how to turn on EC2 and all those things. So it's on the console itself. You can find the link. It's like a
What is it?
chatbot, LLM chatbot for that.
So are you saying it is? I can do all MLOps management using the Q chatbot.
No. It's actually not so good. I mean, I was trying to interact with it, but saying I have some issues and all. But I think they're building for that thing only. They might have their agents and all configured. So you can turn off your EC2 or increase the size of an EC2.
Uh,
Currently, probably they are showing it as it will help you how to turn off the EC2. It will give you step-by-step guide and all those things.
but it is using Bedrock apparently. So Bedrock is their, LLM service, right? So
Yes.
okay, got it. So it's a attempt to use LLM to automate DevOps basically. So using their own LLM layer Bedrock, they want to provide a chatbot where I can hopefully chat with the DevOps infrastructure, and without having to do either cloud development kit CDK, or what is the Terraform or something, and or manual service provisioning. Okay. So this is the LLM architecture which is prevalent nowadays. Anybody has any difference of opinion or trying some other components which are not shown here?
Yeah, I have a question. Like,
Yeah.
as you have mentioned, the architecture of the entire LLM system. So, does there any involvement of the security that helps the entire LLM application to deal with security issues?
I mean, there is, functional guardrails you can build in place. GPT already has functional guardrails. The usual cyber security infrastructure will prevail. So, in fact, cybersecurity itself is being now influenced with Gen AI, and AI interception. But I mean, security-wise, just functional security is there through guardrails if you want to prevent abuse or hallucination or questionable prompting and answers. Any other thoughts on security?
Yeah, it could be also based on the API, like while we are developing or creating any API for generative AI purpose.
Hmm.
So we can also involve various parameters there to check whether the question is relevant or not, or is it bypassing any security issue or not.
Surely, surely. So you can develop a custom security infrastructure, and so that it's a safe environment if that's what you seek. Uh, our client Freedom GPT, which is based in Austin, Texas, for whom we developed initially a llama-based chatbot, and they wanted an uncensored chatbot, and many people in the world believe that a censorship by technical companies or government is not preferred, and that is the view of maybe 50% Americans, and who mostly are Republicans. So that is the reason I think why Freedom GPT uncensored chatbot went viral in the US with 500,000 downloads for the local LLM chatbot, which can run entirely locally. So I'll come to that later. But yeah, for most part, most of us, or particularly corporate sector, would be very careful about security or guardrails and not permitting abusive situations with generative AI if possible. So you can see these are the things which are most popular as per Andreessen Horowitz research in terms of various components. LangChain has been a leading orchestration layer, but some of our community researchers now are telling me that Llama Index is even better. So I think we may be presenting a webinar in coming weeks or months on Llama Index. Some of our researchers are working on Llama Index. So yeah, we had presented a Claude 2 webinar last weekend. Our AI researcher Rakshit Lavi had presented. So that's very interesting. It's a long context LLM. So Anthropic is doing quite well as well, one of the leading players. And obviously, I, as a founder of Cellstrat, dream of having our name here somewhere. But hopefully, God willing, we will get there. Okay, so let's continue here. So, yes, so what is this in-context learning? See, let me open one sec. Let me open a paint window. I can do freehand notes. I typically do this. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's do this. See, basically, what is happening in LLM is that you send a prompt, right? You send a prompt through an API, or if it is local, also you will have exposed an API, right? So there is an LLM model. Okay. And then LLM will apply its intelligence to answer this prompt with an appropriate response. Your prompt could be as simple as just hello, or hi, or good morning, right? And LLM will respond with some kind of appropriate response, right? So this is the response from an LLM. Now, the problem is this is general knowledge database, right? It's based on internet. So it has learned the generalized pattern of the global internet, right? If I were to draw the internet cloud here, so LLM knows all about the internet, the pattern of language. But what about contextual questions? What I mean by contextual questions, let's say I'm company XYZ, right? I'm company XYZ, and I want to do some marketing analytics. Okay. So I'm company XYZ, and I have got my marketing literature here. I've got massive amounts of marketing literature, which is typically the case for most companies. Even startups have a lot of content, right? Let alone multinational companies, right? So I have a lot of marketing literature here. Now, if I were to ask a question about my marketing insights using a prompt to an LLM, guess what? LLM will completely fail to give any meaningful response. I may ask, how many customers I got in last quarter? So LLM will say, I don't know. And how will LLM know my marketing information, right? It has been trained on internet at large data set. So then you need what we call as in-context learning. I'm just inventing a short keyword abbreviation for it, in-context learning. What in-context learning means that the prompt should be responded in context of the information I am providing, which means apart from the prompt, I also have to pass the context against which I want the question to be answered. Right? So there are two inputs to LLM now. One is the prompt, the second is the context. So I am asking the LLM, don't answer generally based on your massive internet expertise. Answer in context of something. In this case, my marketing literature, because I am company XYZ who want to do marketing analytics. So this is what we call as in-context learning. Now, there are 2-3 ways to do in-context learning, right? There are two primary ways. I can take the entire dump of my marketing literature and I can pass it here. So what I can do, I can pass the massive amount of marketing information dump as pass as context to the LLM, along with the question, a specific question I want to ask. My question was, how many customers I got in the last quarter based on my marketing data set? Now, this could be very huge. So this will increase the processing, the computational processing need, and the cost of the LLM API call. If I was calling GPT-4 API, it will cost me maybe potentially thousands or tens of thousands of dollars and to do prompting on my marketing literature in context. So we resort to in context learning. What we do, we do various techniques, like one is fine tuning. We fine tune the LLM on my literature. So LLM now becomes LLM plus. So I can fine tune the LLM on my literature, and now I'm calling it LLM plus. What is the plus here? It has been now fine tuned on my company's data. So there are various fine tuning techniques which some of you might work on already. PEFT, instruction fine tuning, right? And many others. Now, this is a pretty significant major activity, fine tuning an LLM. It's like, incremental machine learning for my neural network in the good old neural network days, traditional deep learning. The other less impactful way has now become popular is called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. So what RAG workflow does, we put the large marketing literature which my company has, all of my company's literature, we convert that into embedding. And then we can convert this into embedding using BERT transformers or the even sentence transformers from Hugging Face. Yeah, or or the new LLM embedding models, and store these embeddings in a VV8 or Pinecone or Chroma vector database, because embeddings are numerical vector representations of the content. And then, so now I've got an embedding database for all of my company content, right? Then, so this is a lower dimensional representation, mathematical representation of my company's data. Then the prompt comes in, and what it does a sentence similarity match. In the RAG workflow, it compares the prompt with the embedding database, and it will run any kind of vector similarity measure, such as cosine similarity, Jacquard, or there are number of NLP techniques for comparing the similarity between sentences or text, right? So similarity check algorithm, and whichever embeddings get higher score. So let's say out of these three embeddings, this embedding gets the highest score. So it matches my incoming prompt, the P prompt, right? My question or query. So I take this embedding, the shortlisted candidate, and I pass it as context here. So the original technique could have been to pass the entire marketing corpus as context, which was giving me thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of LLM API cost. But now I am merely passing the matching embedding, that embedding which is likely to support or help answer my question or prompt. Suddenly the size of the context reduces a lot. And now in a much cheaper cost, LLM is able to give me an appropriate response. So RAG algorithm allows us to reduce the LLM costs of fine tuning or having the need to pass the entire context to it. Any questions? See, for most of you who do GenAI, this may be trivial, but many of you who are new to LLMs, you may find this a little useful.
Vivek, can you please explain the same using an example of sales data or something like that? Be clearer.
Just replace it with sales data, any data your company is sitting on. It doesn't matter. It could be all of your corporate data. So let's say this is all of my company's data, not just marketing or sales data. I am company XYZ. So you have a couple of options. Either you pass this entire literature, which could be gigabytes or thousands of gigabytes in size for large companies, or tens of thousands, and pass it all to LLM and incur hundreds of thousands of dollars of LLM compute cost and API cost. But simply not viable, right? So either you fine tune the LLM, which is also a very complex activity, a very large AI training program like incremental machine learning. The better way is to do RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So the keywords are retrieve, augment, and then generate. So first you retrieve the matching embedding, you augment the prompt with that in context embedding, contextual embedding, and then you generate the response. So RAG is a popular way of doing in-context learning. Now, there are other techniques like prompt engineering. Apart from fine-tuning and RAG, you can indulge in sophisticated prompt engineering also. So you can formulate the prompt in such a way that you kind of assist the LLM to give you a satisfactory response. Right? So it's the way you ask the question. We'll see some examples of prompt engineering in the next set of discussions. Any questions before we proceed?
Yeah, which one is better? Like as you mentioned, the prompt engineering and RAG methodology. So, in your opinion, what method is most relevant in this context?
See, again, it depends on your specific use case, right? The probably the lowest impact, maybe I'm guessing, I could be wrong. I'm also a Gen AI learner, really. So prompt engineering may be the lowest impact way of doing things, but sometimes you can only do so much with prompt engineering, right? It has its limit because it's a play on words, how you prompt it. Now, how much creative can you get with that? We'll see some interesting examples of chain of thought, tree of thought, right? So, but it has its limits, right? It's about creative limits. So then RAG is very powerful technique in most cases. So in our ImagineView product, we are basically implementing a RAG pipeline. We are also doing prompt engineering, but predominantly RAG.
Vivek, I have a question regarding. So you mentioned that if you don't use in-context learning, the cost can go up to thousands of dollars. I'm assuming that you were speaking in terms of like the overall cost, right? Not just like per request or something. I mean, I'm really new to this, so.
Yeah, I mean, you will be asking lots of questions of LLM, right?
Okay.
So your overall cost or even your per prompt cost will be humongous because you need some mechanism of giving your company's context to the LLM because OpenAI GPT has never introspected your company's data.
Okay, so the token size will increase per request even. Right?
Yeah, it will. I mean, you need some pipeline to feed. Let's say you have 10 gigabytes of company data. So you need some pipeline to feed the 10 gigs of data to the LLM or GPT API. So it gives you contextual answers and not general answers from general internet.
Got it. Thank you.
Hey, Vivek, this is Jotan here. Is it even possible to pass the whole context? Because you're talking of gigabytes of data, but I thought the limits of passing the context are in the kilobytes. So isn't that like actually it's not just impossible and not just costly?
You are right, sir. Jotin sir, this is not even feasible. How will you pass? I mean, you could pass, but you'll have to chunk it, right? Because the prompt has a context length limit, right? So you'll have to chunk it. But even the chunk could be large enough. And then how do you chunk it? So yeah, you are right. It's basically not feasible with today's technology. So it was a theoretical thing what I said. You have to give it the whole context, but practically it's not even possible today. How will you pass 10 gigs of data to LLM? You are right, sir.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I think there's like a 4K, 32K, like very small,
That's
very,
right.
very small size
That's right.
limit, right?
Quite right, sir.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
The only thing you could do was fine tuning. So fine tuning would mean you will be able to do either instruct fine tuning or a PFT or LoRa or QLoRa, right? You can fine tune the LLM to your corporate data set, but that's a larger impact program. A lower impact program would be just dealing with in context learning through either prompt engineering or RAG algorithm. So these are sort of the three which I have found in my research, which allow you to do in context prompting. Anything I'm missing here, folks? From any of you are GenAI developers or scientists. So anything I'm missing here? So prompt engineering, fine tuning, and RAG. Any other way you have come across how you can do contextual prompting? Okay. Any other questions before we proceed? So I'm also learning, because I run Selstrat. I don't deal with the tech of it so much, and I just chose to upskill myself for this webinar today. I read through this, but I've been working with my team on my ImagineView product, so I have some idea. I've been conducting all these webinars. There's always somebody else from our AI lab group who presents, but today I thought let me take this chance to also force myself to get into it a little bit. So I am a learner, frankly. So let's continue here. So in context learning. So let me click on this link. It was a very good article, which I did send on our LLM product group last night. So this discusses extensively a Wikipedia article on prompt engineering. And they are talking about the same thing like few shot learning, zero shot learning. So I told you zero shot learning is when you just ask you can say, okay, let me see, find that example. Yeah. Somewhere I was seeing the example of few shot, zero shot learning. Yeah. So zero shot learning means that, so I say I'm passing you this text, and if it is having these words, then mark it as positive text. If it has these words, then mark it as negative text. So I'm giving it some examples. Now, if I just passed a text into LLM and I said, mark this sentence as positive sentiment, neutral sentiment, or negative sentiment, that would be zero shot prompting, because I'm not telling it anything further. I'm just asking the LLM outright, is this sentence positive, neutral, or negative? That is zero shot learning. But if I give it an example that if this sentence contains the word good, praise, happy, it's a positive sentence. If this sentence contains words like, sad, upset, angry, it's a negative sentence. That would amount to what we call as few shot prompting, because I'm giving some examples in the prompt itself. So I hope the difference between few shot prompting and zero shot prompting is clear. So this is one way of doing prompt engineering or in context learning. In context learning is more about this chain of thought or RAG algorithm, which I was telling you about. So let me share this. This is a pretty good summary of prompt engineering magic. And I'm sharing you the Andreessen Horowitz article, which I'm using this for presenting this sort of a blog review. Right, so you can get these links in the chat here. So now what is this chain of thought prompting? Right, chain of thought prompting. Look at this example here. This is very good example. So cafeteria had 23 samples, apples. They used 20 to make lunch and brought 6 more. How many apples do they have now? So this is your input prompt, right? It's a maths quiz question. Now, if I use RAG, if I use retrieval augmented generation, but this doesn't have any RAG context, so this is not related to RAG. But look at this question. So you think the LLM is very intelligent, it can answer it off the beat. It finds it difficult because this needs reasoning, mathematical reasoning, if more specifically, right? So the cafeteria had 23 apples. If they used 20 to make lunch and brought 6 more, so 23. Just a moment. So I am dealing with this input prompt. Cafeteria had 23 apples. They used 20, so 20 are consumed. I am left with 3. But they also bought 6 more apples. So 3 plus 6 is 9. How many apples are you left with? 9 apples is the correct answer. So this needed a mathematical reasoning logic. But guess what? A plain LLM cannot make that determination. I mean, maybe you should test it. But ChatGPT might already have, implemented this, so maybe it can answer it. But generally, LLMs cannot answer it unless they have done chain of thought. Let me log into ChatGPT here, just a moment. I'll go to my chat account so we can play with some of these prompts there. Just a moment. I'm logging into my account. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen again. Let me check the questions here. Okay, now I'm sharing the screen again. So I've logged into this. I want to test this. Maybe ChatGPT has off-the-shelf chain of thought algorithm. So it can indeed answer this question successfully, right? But my understanding is a basic LLM cannot, unless it has implemented a reasoning or chain of thought logic. So by the way, I heard ChatGPT has this. So see, it was able to answer correctly. Did you notice? So it understood. It had to apply a step-by-step workflow. It cannot suddenly answer. If I ask it how to lose weight, right? Okay, this is general internet intelligence, right? So it has a lot of this information based, having learned from internet data. Right? So very good answer it will give you based on its generalized internet intelligence. But if I ask it this mathematical question, then it normally an LLM cannot answer unless it has implemented chain of thought algorithm. So Chat GPT and GPT is detecting that this needs reasoning logic, and it does it that way. So let me make its life more complex here. I'm going to say, don't use reasoning logic. Will it be able to perform? Do not use chain of thought or reasoning or step-by-step logic to determine the answer. So I'm making its life complicated. Okay, okay, so it calculates the answer. But so somehow it is still doing. So it has some logic where it is still doing it, but it was just not showing the reasoning logic. I meant not. Okay, why am I shouting at it? Not to use. Now, sometimes AI mixes with human emotion. So again, it keeps answering that. Okay, I think you are using reasoning behind the scenes. A time will come when this AI agent will become a psyche, and we'll talk to it like we talk to a person. So there is a reasoning process involved which ChatGPT is using. How would you answer it using tree of thought? Okay. So that's, I mean, they're just doing a tree diagram, not really tree of thought. So yeah, I mean, it needs reasoning. Without that, it couldn't answer. And every time it applies reasoning behind the scenes, yes. Even in providing direct answer, there's an implicit reasoning process involved. So this is what we meant by chain of thought technique, right? So this is what we call as chain of thought. It allows you to reasoning. So again, this is under the prompt engineering paradigm, right? And there's something called tree of thought. Now, reading this Wikipedia blog, I realized there's so many other prompting techniques. See, it goes on and on. Tree of thought, yes. Breadth first. So you can do a sort of a tree search algorithm. There are a lot of tree search algorithm in linguistic science, right? So where it can you can do a breadth first or beam search through a tree, right? So these beam search, breadth, or tree search, these are various data structure algorithms. So all those are used here as well. So there are so many prompt engineering techniques. Not getting into images yet, right? So very interesting. So read this blog. I've shared the link. And so in context learning can happen through RAG, through prompt engineering, right? So within the context, it is learning the context within the process itself. So that's what we mean by in context learning. So let's say you're building a chatbot to answer questions about legal documents. So taking a naive approach, as Jyotin sir was saying, it's not feasible technically today, but theoretically you could paste all the documents into a chat GPT or GPT-4 prompt, then ask a question about them. But yeah, there's a length limit or context length limit, so you can't technically do that. But theoretically, if you were to do that, but it would take 50 pages of input. And there's a context window, so the performance will degrade because you can't send it so much data. The biggest GPT model can only process 50 pages of input text. So in-context learning solves this problem with a clever trick. Instead of sending all the documents into LLM prompt, you are sending only a handful of the most relevant. And to determine the most relevant documents, in turn, you use LLM. Right? So you do a semantic search using RAG first. So you do an embedding architecture, then you do a retrieval, and then inference. So RAG is retrieval, augmented generation. So augmented by the retrieved context. That's why we call it RAG. Right? So LangChain, and Llama Index will orchestrate RAG for you more easily. You can do it yourself, complete Python code to implement the RAG pipeline, or LangChain and Llama Index kind of orchestration layers will make it easier. Now, a single GPT query can, if you were to theoretically be able to pass 10,000 pages to GPT-4, it would cost hundreds of dollars at current API rates, yes. So that's why the in-context learning allows you to lower the cost, and make it more feasible even for a multinational company to adopt LLM solutions. So contextual data could be documents, PDFs, structured data like CSV, SQL. And we are doing it. So this is what our product is about. Not to, make this a product pitch, but just as a product demo. So here, this is the product which we are launching. So we have already launched the sign-in, sign-out process. We are about to launch subscription plans, right? Subscription plans. So we'll soon be launching SaaS subscriptions on our platform sometime this month. But currently, it is free. You can create a sign-in and basically just try it out. So today it takes CSV, it takes PPT, and it takes PDFs and websites. Yes, let me demo it to you. So let's say I upload this article. Let's see what this article which I'm uploading, right? So we know what we are dealing with. Okay. So I'm uploading this article. This is nothing but a McKinsey report on generative AI. So here, 4 McKinsey partners are discussing the upcoming potential of the generative AI industry, right? So there are a couple of McKinsey partners like Robert Fusaro, Kelsey Robinson, and then Michael Chui and Alex Singla. They are discussing the potential of Gen AI. So I am uploading this PDF. I can upload n number of PDFs. Let me upload one more. So let me also put other McKinsey document. While I am at it, let me also put some websites here. I'm going to put my own website, my company's website here, right? I'm going to put my company's website here at the same time. So it will embed all of this information. For the website, it will only do the home page. We haven't done the deep URL miner, which will go inside the sublinks here. That is on a roadmap. So I upload all of this, is going to store these documents as VV8 embeddings on our AWS cloud server. Then it will allow me to chat with this information. So basically, we are developing an information mining platform for a variety of corporate literature, right? So now I've gone here. So now I can start asking questions. What does Chui think of Gen AI? Right? So Chui is one of the partners mentioned in that McKinsey report, right? Michael Chui, you can see here. So they are discussing with some interviewer the potential of GenAI. So Chui believes that generative AI has the potential to create significant value ranging from $2 to $4 trillion. Right? So it gives fairly good answers. Okay, so I'll say something more. Summarize the McKinsey. Now I have uploaded 2 articles. So this is still work in progress product. Maybe it is not that sophisticated, but for many things we ask, it does pretty good job. Summarize the McKinsey article. So it, if you notice something very interesting, what happened here, it summarized Chui's responses, because what it did, it took the previous context in context. The previous context was only the McKinsey partner Chui's feelings about GenAI. So instead of summarizing the whole article, it summarized Chui's, information, what he said. But let's say I stress it further. I say, no, I want you to generalize the entire McKinsey article, not just Chui's opinion. So you see how I am prompting it to variate the answer. So this is prompt engineering, right? I am prompting it so that I'll get more satisfactory answers, what I am originally looking for. Articles as a whole, and not just Chui's thoughts on it. Let's see. I don't know if it will answer it. I'm just testing my own product here. Okay, so it kind of summarized. It didn't give a a very detailed answer, but it did try to summarize some of the responses, not too unsatisfactory, but not exactly what I was looking for. I am asking you to summarize the entire document of McKinsey, entire document from McKinsey and Company. So you see, it's a lot of the magic is how you prompt it. McKinsey. That was okay. Let's see if it answers it. So I'm trying to pressurize it basically. So so you see how prompts can change the answer. See, now I was able to kind of get to what I wanted, right? It took me a couple of prompt iterations. Right. So see the flow here. So first I was asking what an individual partner Michael Chui thinks of GenAI as per that McKinsey article. So he is one of the 4 McKinsey partners who's being interviewed in this article, right, which I had uploaded. And then I said summarize the McKinsey articles. But the problem with this prompt was it assumed that I'm only asking about Chui, which was the previous prompt. So it kept that in context. Right. So this is just Chui's feelings about GenAI in that article, not the entire McKinsey article summary. Then I pressured it further. Now I want you to summarize McKinsey articles as a whole and not just Chui's thoughts on it. So then it says I can't do that. The context only includes snippets of conversation between different individuals discussing various topics, which is actually accurate. Actually, the second sentence is accurate. It is a snippets of information or conversation between McKinsey partners. Then I pressured it further, and it was able to kind of do it. So you see, now the creativity is in how you create these prompts, right? So you have seen first-hand demonstration of how prompt engineering can change the responses. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Balnika.
Yeah, hello Vivek. So I had a quick question. So
Yeah.
this product does it have the ability to pick up data only from the document that we upload or anywhere from the internet cloud?
No, this is specifically RAG, right? So it is looking for in-context answers only within the document I uploaded. Now, periodically, to my surprise, it answers me in a generalized way, but mostly it fails, as one would expect. This is not general ChatGPT prompting. This is in context of the 2 PDF documents which I uploaded. So one was this. This was one article, and the second was this article. Now I did upload website as well. So let's ask about the website. What is SalesStrat? because I uploaded sellstrat.com, my own company's website, the homepage. Yeah, so that it is able to pick. What is the connection between Sellstrat and McKinsey? Because I have uploaded McKinsey articles as well as Sellstrat website. So this answer it will not find anywhere. In none of those three information sources was there any reference to any connection between Sellstrat and McKinsey. So it correctly answers it has no information on that. So what products and services Sellstrat offers? Based on the homepage of Sellstrat website, it can answer that. Right. So if you see the Sellstrat website, it has information about what our company does, right? So yes, so it provides this. So what is an expansion pack? So expansion pack is mentioned on Sellstrat website. So it is a set of projects. Okay, didn't pick it up. So don't we have pack here? Okay, we have not expansion pack, project pack. What is project pack? Now I misspelled what word. Let's see if it works fine. Yeah, so it was able to find what is project pack because the word project pack appears here. The word expansion pack doesn't appear, so it could connect the dots on that one. But we call them expansion packs or project packs here. So these are what it is. So we have an MLOps platform, a marketplace of projects and APIs here.
In that case, when we're uploading any particular document, does it have the ability to go through the document and give us suggestions, like, or its own thoughts about it? So now we have different packs mentioned over it, right? So if I'm gonna
do you like Sellstrat website, or do you want to recommend any website changes?
In that case, no.
Or would you like to recommend website changes? Okay, so it says I don't have the ability to view or assess the Sellstrat website, so I cannot recommend any change, which is fine. So because this is RAG algorithm, this is not general GPT prompting. Okay, how can I lose weight? Right, let's ask it a question. So based on the given context, it doesn't know the answer, which is what I wanted it to say. So this is also correct. So we are going to add, so in our upcoming product roadmap, we are adding a feature. So there'll be a toggle here on top right. And what we'll do, we are going to add a virtual assistant capability. So when you click on the toggle and you go to virtual assistant, it will work like ChatGPT. It will answer any random question based on general GPT intelligence. But if you don't toggle, then it will answer in context of the documents you have uploaded. So these are some of our upcoming features in our product roadmap. But anyway, coming back to our main, article. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So you uploaded some PDF files. What other formats does it accept data, and like what about voice notes or videos?
So as of now, we accept 4. We are adding a lot more. It can ingest website, PDF, a TXT file, text file, as well as a CSV file. So 4 formats are today supported. Microsoft Word and PPT are in the works. Hopefully, sometime this month we'll be able to launch, a Word document, an Excel file document, and a PPT. So far, TXT, CSV was recently added. PDF and website was there from before.
But so all of them are basically text. You're not planning for other modalities like voice or video.
No, we have a lot of plans. So we'll be adding audio, video, everything. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So let me show you.
Vivek?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, as an organization, if I have a huge data, right, like I have trained in the LLM, and if I upload some custom documents, can this compare with the existing like database and give a custom report or something like that?
It can be done. It needs custom solutioning, right?
Custom solution.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will need a custom solution. Let me show you our product roadmap. So we were recently part of the IIT startup cohort in India cohort, and we are now. I'm also pitching to investors in the Penn IIT conference this Friday in Bangalore. So this is our upcoming product roadmap. So you can see we'll be adding a lot of modalities here for information mining, image, video, audio, right? So currently the text itself is so vast paradigm. So we have done PDF websites, TXT, CSV, we are adding Office docs. Eventually we'll build adapters into Salesforce.com, documents, yeah, SAP documents, Jira, Slack, etc. And we are also planning to add a private LLM option with Llama 2. Because currently the problem is all of this data is going to OpenAI servers through GPT API. Many of our customers are asking for a privacy option. So we'll be adding a private cloud option with Llama 2 LLM. So that is also on the roadmap. I mean, we have almost 25 AI researchers from our massive community currently working on a product. And many others are working on our custom projects. So all of you who have GenAI expertise are welcome to contribute to our product development activity in our product team as an intern. And also if you work in a client projects periodically as and when opportunity offers itself.
So Vivek, what differentiates you in terms of the contextual information? Is your quality of your accuracy of RAG, or is that because you're using Open API or Llama, which is additional available with everyone? So what is that which differentiates you when you pitch this?
So in terms of you're asking, are you an investor, sir?
No, I'm not an investor. I'm just thinking because as an end user, when I want to choose a company A and company B, what is the non-technical answer for choosing one company or another in terms of quality of the prompts and the responses?
See, product innovation is happening as I've been talking about it, right? So if you're asking me about our specific differentiator, product-wise, yeah, a lot of similar tech is there. We are also just creating wrappers on GPT API really and doing some prompt engineering and RAG innovation on that. But one of the key moats which we have, or defenses for our startup, if you ask me, if you are an investor, we do have one of the largest AI communities in India, at least. So we have 16,000 AI professionals in our community, and I'm including all of you in that. And we have a Jumpstart AI portfolio of 400 projects. So currently, yes, a lot of such tools are coming out for zillions of startups. But because of our massive community and talent pool, we are very confident and we can be a major player in this space. But yes, over time, we'll shift to a product mode, and we are adding features which we haven't seen out there. So not everything I can discuss on an open call, but we are slowly adding features. You see what happens when internet came out. So you would think that Amazon and Google and Microsoft would pretty much walk away with the entire internet business model, right? But probably thousands of internet companies came up and did really well. So there's a lot of white space left by big tech, which we hope to capture, right? So that's how startups do it. They have a guerrilla tactics where they capture some of the white spaces, and which are also very large. You can still create a unicorn startup with capturing some of the white spaces, because large tech cannot do everything. There are too many opportunities. So you can see some of our community photos here and the founding team, myself and my co-founder Vishal. Right, so we are raising funding, and if you're interested in funding us, by all means, I can discuss with you offline, and hopefully that answers the question to some extent. But yes, today there are many such tools coming out, but the market is pretty big to support lots of upcoming startups. Yes. Okay, so coming back to our topic for the day, almost there. We can logically close it, but I have discussed the major points which I wanted to discuss. So I'm just cursing through this blog here by Andreessen Horowitz. So I hope to reach out to them at some point when we are capable of doing that. This is a very prestigious, one of the largest VC firms, Andreessen Horowitz Sequoia. So not easy to get their attention, but hopefully one fine day it will happen for us. So you can do embeddings using variety of embedding architectures, the BERT embedding or Sentence transformer or any of these LLM embedding nowadays. right? And store it in vector databases like VV8. Chroma is also quite popular. Many of our community people have told me about Chroma. So rest of this article is just expansion on that diagram, which we have been discussing at length here. So yeah, interestingly, I saw this note that GPT-4 everybody wants to go to. We want to go to also, but interestingly, GPT 3.5 Turbo is 50 times cheaper than GPT-4. So that made me think why I have to spend the cost of GPT-4, GPT 3.5, because I want to keep a product economical for my customer and not charge them a fortune, right? It will be hard to sell very expensive platform. So we could resort to GPT 3.5 Turbo for basic use cases. With GPT-4 level accuracy, we may not need in all. Now, Claude 2 is very interesting. It has a 100K context window. That is Claude. Maybe Claude 2 has even more. So, so we recently did a webinar on Claude 2, and we want to explore it more. Yes, from Anthropic, very good company. So Llama 2, Mistral, Mosaic are becoming popular. Yes, any questions?
Your ImagineView, no? That how do you compare that with the Claude 2? Because it has got same way we can attach the document and then ask question, right?
Even ChatGPT, I think in the new GPT Enterprise version, they are offering that. See,
Yes.
what will happen? I know this document attachment or RAG capability is being added by all of them, but we have our own space of customers, right? So yes, so see, everybody does the same thing, right? Eventually, all products will look alike. But what will happen? There will be a lot of white space use cases. Let's say we may end up doing something for a legal industry, right? So or financial services for that matter. So we'll find our niche, if you will. But indeed, a lot of these chatbots are adding the document RAG capability.
Yeah, and how do you even compare? Is in terms of the accuracy, the error rate and that thing,
I
right?
mean, we have not done benchmark yet, right? We are still in the process of launching it, and we already have a large pipeline of customers, right, waiting. So see, what happens is that while this is not a one man standing game, right? This is not like e-commerce where only one Flipkart and Amazon will win because of the network effects. The use cases are so widespread and the number of customers so of high variety. So a lot of startups can also find a lot of customers. So let me give you an example of our customer Freedom GPT, which is a incredible success story, right? So this is my customer in Austin, Texas, and I met them when I went there in September. And in fact, in January, I'm going to meet them again in Austin. So they started with this idea of uncensored chatbot. So they asked us to develop a Llama chatbot, which is uncensored because Llama is uncensored, don't have guardrail. And they wanted it to offer on the edge AI, so completely on PC edge, specifically Windows and Mac edge. We believe they have received 500,000 downloads. It's a free download product on Mac and Windows. So it was meant as a local edge AI chatbot using Llama 2 LLM on a PC, Mac or Windows. 500,000 downloads so far. So, and it was covered by New York Times, Gizmodo News, and BuzzFeed, lots of prime media. Then they launched the cloud version to actually monetize it. So, if I go to the cloud version, it is nothing but a wrapper on variety of, you can see, so my team is developing this for them. So this cloud version is nothing but an app store of AI models. It's called AI Cortex, which they choose to call it. So they have put all of these models available through a cloud API. See, even App Store is there. Even OpenAI is planning to launch a GPT store by January or February. So they'll become a competitor to these guys. But this company is doing very well. I believe their current revenue, because these are paid AI models. See, you can see 1 credit per message, 4 credits per message, right? So they are charging them. And guess what? They are making hundreds of dollars of revenue per day. Hundreds of dollars of revenue. And that is increasing. So they are creating an app store of AI models. So feel free to try Freedom GPT. You'll love it. So in a way, I'll end up competing with them for some of my products with my own customer. But it's okay. I mean, these guys are generations ahead. It's a US based, very seasoned entrepreneurial team, and they are really my mentors as well. And I'm going to add this team to my board of advisors. I told them I'm meeting them in Austin, in January. So here you can choose. You can choose any of these models and then ask it a question. Is to spend a weekend, right? So, but see, now it forces me to buy credits. Maybe as a guest I can try but it will limit my number of responses. So this is my customer and they're monetizing this product. And you may think, what is the innovation? Zero innovation. It's just a wrapper on lots of popular models. So it is not letting me move forward because I have used the free. So I have to buy now, right? They are already monetizing this massive AI app store and they're adding more and more models. Their goal is to add, 700 AI models in this for some reason in next couple of months. All kinds of AI models. No innovation, just a aggregation of AI models in a common platform. Monetizing heavily. See, what happens in startup world, what I have understood, I've been doing startups for many years. If it is a very large growing market, as we call as TAM, the total addressable market, so new startups can still find success. So the key is in the TAM. How big is the market? If you float in a small lake, you may be the biggest ship, you will still not succeed. But if you venture out in Pacific Ocean, you may be the smallest boat, but you still have a lot of sea to capture. Even the smallest guy in a very large market can do well because the market size supports many people. So anyway, that was a sort of off-topic discussion, just to talk about differentiation of our startup. Any other questions?
I have a question on RAG.
Yeah.
So is it possible, let's say, the information
Yeah.
which we are giving through RAG to the LLMs, it might conflict with the LLM's previous knowledge? And in that case, like, how does LLMs respond?
I mean, it will take a decision, right? So it will do what it can do. It will basically check. It will just check. It will not conflict because in RAG, it will only answer within context of that document. Now, let's say within your own document, you have contradiction happening, right? Within your document, you offer two opinions about something which are contradictory. So at that point, it may randomly probably answer one or the other, or it may give both the answers in the prompt response. Because in your own document, you are contradicting yourself. But it will not clash with its generalized intelligence because it is only going to answer in context of your document.
So, for example, let's say there is a general knowledge that sun rises in the east, but in the document somewhere it's written sun rises in the west. So, will it actually answer like sun rises in the west based on the document?
That is my understanding, yes. Because it is in context of the document, yes. You are forcing it to say ki answer in context of my document. Forget everything else you know.
Okay.
Right? So that's what my understanding is. We can test it out, of course, but that's what I believe, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, Vivek. Sampath here.
Yeah.
So, as a continuation of this generalized LLMs, so can you plan some session on like how to give custom inputs or create a custom vector DB for like training the custom data and give some outputs like in the future any week? Is it possible?
No, we have been doing so many webinars, right? We keep doing. So somewhere or the other, we would have covered it, right? So
you would have covered. Okay. I'm new to this, so maybe I'll go through like this.
But if you are not part of our AI Lab community, I suggest you enroll. We do charge a small enrollment fee of 500 rupees for new joinees only. For old people, renewal costs a little more. For new joinees, we charge 500 for 1 year. Today webinar we open to public, but generally our webinars are reserved for our community members only.
Yeah, I have enrolled.
Then you have exposure. I've shared a list of all the recordings and also our YouTube channel before, right? So
yeah,
you can find the previous and you can see the upcoming ones on our meetup page.
Sure. Thank you.
Hi,
Vivek, how do
Vivek.
we enroll? Sorry, how do we enroll to this community?
Yeah, so let me share the link with you. So there is a link here only on the page. Today we opened it to public, but normally we keep our webinars member only. So there is a link here. If you are first time enrollee, then this price is offered. But if you renew after 1 year, you can renew. You can renew in perpetuity, but I think renewal cost for 1 year is 2,000. But that's from second year. For new joinees, is only 500. So I can share this link here. So some of the communities like the IIT group, which I'm part of, IIT Bay Area alumni group, we just share the link with them because we have a different relationship with the group. But yeah, in general, for general folks, there is a membership fee. But some of our webinars are open to public, and you can attend them. Okay, so you'll find all of our upcoming webinars scheduled on this Disrupt page, right? Through which you joined this probably, or you got an email. So you can just RSVP, so you keep be informed of the schedule. You can see very good set of webinars are lined up. Next weekend we have Chain of Thought webinar, Responsible AI. Then following weekend, fine-tuning LLMs, recommendation models, RAG, we're using Llama Index this time, reinforcement learning, human feedback. So we have a rich set of webinars happening on GenAI. Lot of good stuff. So I suggest you enroll or join the ones which you want to join. Okay, continuing here. So even I'm thinking if GPT 3.5 is 50x cheaper than GPT-4, maybe for our ImagineView product, we might consider GPT 3.5 and not try to go to 4 to keep the costs controlled, right? We don't want to offer a very expensive product to our customer either to be competitive in the market. So Llama 2, Mistral has become very popular. I haven't explored it. Probably we should ask some of you or our community members to present a webinar. Falcon, we have shown some work before anyone some webinar, I believe. So there is new concept of AI agents coming up now, which is sort of a self-autonomous service, right? Let's say you want to do a workflow, because this is a Q&A paradigm. But what if you want the agent to do a workflow for you? For example, please book me a movie ticket to the new Vicky Kaushal movie, Sam Bahadur. How about that? Right. So I was exploring that movie this morning, which has just come out this weekend. It's about General Sam Manekshaw, very famous Indian Army general, right? Field Marshal. So, I want an agent to book a movie ticket for me in the nearby theater. So just to issue one command, and it will execute the whole process on a Book My Show movie booking portal, perhaps. So that would need a workflow and automation, right? So that's where I think an agent can help. So an LLM agent can help. So this is, so many things are coming up. We are barely starting this whole GenAI or LLM paradigm. And as I said, we haven't even started the concept of a generalized image model, audio or video model, because tech has not reached that level. So I attended two major events. I had a booth, right? I had a booth in Bay Area, last in September, in fact. You can see some of these photographs. I was running a booth. This is me here. I was running a booth in Santa Clara at the AI Hardware Summit as well as the IT Leadership Conference. And interestingly, the two keynote speakers in these two conferences, one was Andrew Ng, the other was Jensen Huang, founder of NVIDIA. So that was a rare privilege for me to listen to these luminaries of AI, right? These guys pretty much own the AI world. So NVIDIA founder and so Andrew Ng presentation was so fascinating. So he was saying, I predicted this LLM concept, this large language context few years back, and now it's breaking out due to ChatGPT. And now he was showing me as a chart where he was saying that next I'm predicting some kind of image innovation is coming, which will accelerate or excite the AI world as much about images as it is doing about text and languages, right? So that's what Andrew Ng's prediction is. The next in line is a very significant image innovation, and he says by no means LLM, LLM Gen AI revolution is any close to being saturated. It's just starting. So it's very exciting days ahead for all of us in AI world. So I guess that brings me to the end of this, what I wanted to cover. Open to any questions or discussions now.
Yeah, I have another question. So does your services also provide open source softwares?
Sorry, come again?
Yeah, I want to know, does your company also provides the open source software services?
Yes, so we have two business divisions. So we have the community effort, which is this and all of our internships and all that. So we have two business verticals. One is a services division where we do custom AI solutions for global clients, including Indian clients as well. And then we have our product division where we are developing this next generation LLM platform, a business applications platform, ImagineView. Now, earlier there was a question asked, how do I compete with and how do I compare with Anthropic Claude? So we don't compete with foundational LLMs as a Claude or OpenAI. We can't, because that needs probably $500 million, right, to train a foundational LLM. We use these best of breed LLMs to make business apps. So that's what our focus is. We are developing that middleware or the business facing layer for LLM apps on top of best of breed foundational LLM. So we don't compete with Anthropic or OpenAI. We leverage them. We call their API or use their LLM. We also do custom solutions. So Freedom GPT is one of our custom clients, right? So in our custom projects, customer owns the intellectual property. For our product ImagineView, we own the intellectual property. And we do have a community of AI interns and researchers who work in our client projects as well as help us in our ImagineView product development effort. So if you have GenAI hands-on expertise, I would love to have you contribute in our community. So you can reach out to me. I'll share my number here. It's also given on the meetup page. We are one of the hottest, AI communities coming from India, and that is why we have been able to, have 16,000 plus members now in our community, extended community. But the close AI lab group is where the action happens. So that is a slightly paid service, yes. But many of our interns who now help us in our client projects and our products, we actually pay them. So once somebody contributes to our project or client projects, we end up paying them. Any other questions, comments? I hope you like this session. I just stepped in last moment in place of the presenter who was supposed to present.
So coming back to your architecture, no, the first slide you were showing.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the evolution you think it's possible? We are actually talking about the vector database, and that itself is coming up new things, and whether the existing database will add some custom things and then go to vector database, or what do you think? I'm just a general question. If
You mean
go to
the LLM architecture diagram, the first one?
Yeah.
So what we are using, if that's what your question is,
another evaluation I'm telling.
Huh?
You see the next possible. See, if you want to have like a vector. See, now the new things are vector databases, right? And that is evolving as well. So do you think the existing database like Oracle, Cassandra, and Rating, right? Will it evolve to kind of vector database for the future, or how it will be like? Because now
that I don't know, right? I mean, Oracle is developing a large LLM platform, I believe. But I mean, I was an Oracle database architect in my past life, so I don't know if they are going to catch up with the vector database. I mean, that's just a different kind of database, right? That's information like RDBMS or something. We use DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database in AWS for our whole application of ImagineView. Now, I don't know if Oracle or Sybase or whoever else will also launch vector databases. I have no idea.
Yeah, but
I mean,
yes. No,
I mean, all of these components are, innovating, right? So there's a lot of startups and multinational companies are launching products to cover this whole space.
Okay. Yeah, my thought process was, since they already have the database and then adding this location and awareness, context and all to their existing database, those DB vendors, it will be very easy for them to, transition, especially the new chips are coming, ICs are coming up in the AI. So the future, just a thought process, right? How it will be.
I mean, we
whether
can't
they
say
will be
that
evolving.
because this is new kind of technology, not really RDBMS or SQL, databases. So Oracle, we haven't heard much about, right? Oracle was the leading RDBMS vendor. But yeah, everybody is coming. Oracle is doing a large AI effort, I believe, and they have a large AI team forming up. So let's see who wins this finally for each of these components. I hope we as a startup are a major player. That's what we are driving for. In the business applications layer, not in the foundational layer though. Any other questions before we close this session?
Vivek, I don't know if this is okay, but we're actually building a community of AI, people who are interested in learning LLMs specifically. So I just posted a link. I hope it's okay to share for others who are interested in joining that community. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. Here it's okay. But if you were to join our AI lab group, we will not be able to promote any other communities. But here in this call itself, it's okay.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Vivek, I have one question.
Yeah.
Let's say in the knowledge base for a RAG, you have hundreds of document that he wants to add in so that when questions are asked, it can fetch necessary context from the uploaded documents. So do you carry out some kind of post processing on those docs? I mean, when I say processing here, let's say there are thousands of documents which can have a lot of overlapping information or conflicting information. So how is that generally handled in these kind of systems?
So RAG will do, it will do a semantic similarity match, right? So for your prompt, whichever parts of documents, let's say 3 paragraphs. So let's say you uploaded 100 documents. Now RAG detects that 3 paragraphs from 3 different documents are best candidates for your input prompt. It will pass all 3 to the GPT API as context and let GPT make a call based on these 3 somewhat matching paragraphs, what should be the appropriate response. So this will be now down to the semantic similarity match as the first factor, and the second would be how the LLM model treats it, the 3 in context paragraphs which you are going to pass to it, along with the input prompt.
Yeah, but very likely if there is overlapping or conflicting information there in that context, so GPT is bound to hallucinate. When there are no control components there to handle that.
Yeah, that has to be tested if the answer is satisfactory or not. So I can't say for sure. We'll have to test it in that particular scenario, that if the answer which is received is satisfactory, because your documents were contradictory to begin with. So, so we don't know if how the response will look like. Will it satisfy what we want to get? Maybe it will offer, 2 opinions or 3 opinions. It will say, I have 3 possible propositions to offer here because I had 3 embeddings to look at. I don't know. I'm just, again, I'm hallucinating myself here. We'll have to test it.
Because this is very much possible when you have, thousands of, varieties of products out there, and there are tons of description around them, when you want to use it as a recommendation, and it gets harder because most of the products can have similar information, So,
after all, LLM is trained on internet data. So internet is full of contradiction. Won't you agree? So I can say this much, that LLM has intelligence how to tackle contradictions, because LLM is so powerful, so monstrously powerful, because it's trained on the internet as a whole, right? So there are some internet scale data sets like Leo and few others which are close to internet scale data. So because of that, LLM already is expert in handling lot of situations, including contradictions, because internet is full of contradictions. So I'm not surprised to say that I won't be surprised if I see still good enough responses, because contradictions is not new to LLM.
But at least the in-context learning level, if, do you think then it will require specific processing of data itself in that case?
So we'll have to experiment with it. I don't know the answer offhand. If any of you have any custom AI solutioning needs, so happy to talk to you and discuss that.
Also, Vivek, a couple of questions. One is like you mentioned how LLMs are trained on internet data. Are there ones that are not trained on internet data that are closed?
No, then we don't call it LLM, right? The whole concept of LLM is large language model, right? So it has to be trained on massively large language data set, right? Otherwise, we can't call it an LLM. So that was the case with the BERT and the older, language models.
Okay.
Right?
And what about
Distill BERT, and BERT was one of the most popular ones, but it was not an LLM.
And what about like other languages, not just English, but other languages?
It's multilingual. This GPT is I think it supports dozens or 2-3 dozen languages.
Okay.
You can go to ChatGPT and test it out. I have tested on Hindi. It works fairly well.
Okay.
Not as good as English, but still, because the problem is the other languages, it didn't have that scale of data, but still does well, but not as well as it does on English.
And how will the software will respond if the languages are different? For example, if we are putting the PDF document in Hindi and we want to response in English, or is vice versa?
Yeah, you can prompt it. It will do it successfully. It has a natural language translator as per your prompt required. Okay, you can do that. So you can ask a question in Hindi and ask it to answer in English. It will do it successfully. It has a language translation capability, right? So that is one of, you can do text summarization, language translation, entity detection. Most of the usual traditional NLP tasks, it does quite well. And with Whisper, we can now do speech to text. And there's text to speech and there's speech to text. So Whisper is also OpenAI, one of the state-of-the-art speech to text. So you can develop a talking chatbot, right? So you can capture the speech, convert to text using Whisper API. Whisper is a free open source model from OpenAI. And then there's text to speech, so you can speak it out in speech again, the response. Okay, any final questions? We are almost coming up to 2 hours here.
And your model doesn't support the multi-language, do we?
No, it does. It does. I haven't tested it very well, but I think it does. I frankly haven't tested it, but because it is GPT, right? So
yeah, it's derived from that. Okay.
yes. But frankly, I have not tested it. I should test it because I was focused on launching the product and supporting English very well.
Okay. And did you try voice? No.
No, the voice we have not added. In future, if in some customer flow, we may add voice. Currently, it's text.